Alright, chapter 1.6b is about solving absolute value inequalities. Today's lesson is going to focus mostly on the translation of absolute value inequalities. We've already learned how to solve them and graph them. It's important that we can expand them, otherwise you're going to have an issue that can't be fixed. So this lesson here is not going to do a lot of solving as far as what I know. We're not going to solve them. I'm just going to expand them because, again, you should know how to solve them and graph them. It's just going to be the expansion piece that we want to focus on. So the rules for expansion are pretty much the same. Number one, get your absolute value alone. We saw that. Number two, rewrite the problem without the bars. We saw that. That was when we did absolute value equalities. The thing about it is you need to make sure that you connect using the proper word now. There are two words you're going to use, which is and or, and you need to make sure that you consider that and study this so you know what to do. Again, the key thing I see on my test is students who don't study it, they put the wrong word, they miss the whole problem, because again, I don't typically give half credit, and the reason I don't typically give half credit is because you can retake the test, and that is your half credit. So other than that, number four, rewrite the problem, making necessary switches. That again is something there you need to be mindful of. So again, 3 and 4 are two very important parts, and that's really where our focus is going to be. We should, at this point, if you've done your work, know how to get the absolute value alone. We should know how to rewrite it without the bars. The key thing is, in your rewriting without the bars and doing all that, it has to be done the right way. So how do you find the proper word? The absolute value symbol is used to indicate the word that will be used in the problem. Just remember the following observation. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be absolute value symbol. That should be the equality symbol. And actually it's inequality symbol. If you alphabetize and or, of course and is over here, or would be over there. This is a common sense thing, so you need to make sure you're listening and kind of writing it down and writing an explanation, because sometimes to take good notes you do have to write down some extra words that help you remember what this means. But if you were to do this symbol, notice that this symbol points to and, so that would be and. If you alphabetize and or, and you see this symbol points to or, so you would use the word or. And it is commonsensically that simple. Use your common sense. Think about and being over here, or being over here. Look at the symbol. Whatever word it points to is the word that you would use to do that. That's the first part. And again, that is your key thing. Those two things pointing to the right are or. These two things pointing to the left are and. And again, you can memorize that, or you could just think about the alphabetization, that's a lot of syllables, but alphabetizing of the two words, and then it kind of points at the word that you're looking at. How do you make the necessary switches? Remember that we switched the outside value, we actually switched the equal sign as well. The key thing about what happens when you flip an equal sign over is that it looks like this. If you flip it over, it looks like this, and even though it's pointing the opposite direction, it still looks like an equal sign. It is not like an inequality symbol to where it points the opposite direction, because the equal sign is neutral, and so when you flip something around that is neutral, it does not change directions because it is neutral. So make sure when you're writing the second inequality, when it says make your necessary switches, that you switch the sign as well. So let's look at a couple examples before we move on to practice, and by practice I mean your practice, not my practice, because I am not here to practice. So if we are going to solve and graph this, so here's your two examples. I'm not going to solve them. We are just going to get to the point where you should be able to solve them. So the first thing we do again is rewrite it without the bars. So 3x, I'm sorry, get the absolute value alone, which it is, but 3x plus 2 less than or equal to 12. Now we need the word. And again, this points that way. If I were to alphabetize my words, I believe and is on that side. 3x plus 2. Switch the sign here and switch to 12. Again, you must switch the sign and the number. That is the key part that you need to look out for, is that you have to switch both. Again, you should jot something down and make sure you remember that, but that's the key part. I didn't switch the sign. How smart am I? So switch the sign and switch to 12, and that is where you end up. But again, I'm not going to graph this, but I can tell you that because it's and, your graph should look something like this. Because it's closed, it's an and I know that and is typically going to be in the middle. It's either going to be this, or it's going to be no solution, because there's no way you can have an and that's not shaded in the middle. Well, I guess there are some that do it. It's just not going to happen here. Don't confuse yourself. Don't let me confuse you. B's example. Starting off, 10 minus 2x, absolute value, 4. I don't know why I just did that. Rewrite without our absolute values alone already, so we do 10 minus 2x is greater than 4. We then pick the word. This symbol points that way. If you alphabetize and or, that would be pointing at or. 10 minus 2x, flip the sign and flip the number. And again, those 3 dots for me in my notes means you should know what to do there. I just know that it should be something like, because it's open, that. Should be. Doesn't mean it will be, but should be. And again, in math, the key thing that as you make your transition into higher levels of math, I used to be a coach, and I can tell you that I would always let my athletes know that when you think through something versus react to something, this is going to be more useful. Thinking through it is good. You have to start out by thinking through it, and so you do things to kind of, make sure you're doing them right. But when you do them enough, and that's why you work for mastery, when you do them enough, you can kind of react, and that is where you need to be. You need to be able to react to stuff, which means that you should kind of know if it's and, if it's or, what it should look like, and that way you can kind of keep yourself in check as you go through it. But again, make sure you remember that you have to have a 85% on all homework to do the test review assignment. And I'm going to love all the emails from people that I say that are going to say I can't open the test review assignment, and it's because you have to have an 85% to get onto the test review assignment. I'll probably make that your last question. That way when somebody emails it to me, I can really feel happy. But other than that, you have a test coming Friday. Again, you'll have until Monday at midnight to do it, but that means that if you're not ready on Friday, you better work hard by Monday, because if you do not have it done by Monday, a 0 goes in the book, and a 50% 0 is huge, so please don't do that to yourself. Other than that, good luck. Use me for questions, and let's knock this out.